I've managed to be
Sure.
highly functioning and a top performer everywhere despite various addictions. But I think it is something that has had a huge effect on my life, mostly negative, and very happy to be open about it. So fundamentally, I think what I understand addiction to be, after a fair amount of therapy and talking about these with a lot of people, is avoiding pain through distracting yourself.
Mm,
And it can be a bit of a vicious cycle, right? You feel even worse because you've drunk the night before. And I was heavily addicted to alcohol for 20 years. I never liked the drunk Jamie. I never
okay.
liked the porn addicted Jamie. I never liked the Jamie who needed to go out for a cigarette or a vape or whatever it is. So I've got continual improvement, having a long term vision, generosity to others, open mindedness, my physical and mental health, maintaining my integrity, having an abundant mindset, like believing things will always get better and there's enough of everything to go around to not have to be political, and connection, looking for deeper connection with other
Love
people.
those. And I think, not to say I'm not sitting here as a drug and alcohol counselor or anything of that nature, but I do think if anyone is struggling with something, that would be a good exercise, is to go through your values and to really get clear on what you value most and what you aspire to most, and then really ask that hard question: does this thing get me closer or further
Yeah.
from that?
But everyone has like little T trauma, which is a series of things that, if they think back on them, make them feel guilty or ashamed or other negative and generally
Yes.
unhelpful emotions, right? So everyone has something they're overcoming. What I realized is most of what I had in common with the people from that time is that we loved drinking
Like to party
and
together.
liked to party together. And that was most of what we had in common. We'd very rarely talk about anything of depth. And after 3 or 4 drinks, you can't. And it was our friendship was more a factor of that we spent so much time together and had drinking as a hobby in common rather than anything else. But yeah, if you're going to give up something that's core to your being and the way you've lived your life like that, you're going to change friendship groups, and that's
It's going to
just
weed
reality.
some.
So I read that book when I was at Procter and Gamble, and I was like, "That's awesome! I am a challenger. I am
I can see
disagreeable.
that.
I like correcting people and teaching them things. I
That's just
like,
British.
yeah, maybe, yeah, sarcasm, show posing as challenger behaviors.
If you have too much empathy and not enough ego, go after, you're going to let people off the hook for BS excuses. I see this, I work with a lot of folks in financial or life insurance. You
Mm,
see this a lot there, just really anything, but you see it a lot in those industries. If you have too much ego and not enough empathy, you come off like an a-hole. And
yeah,
so you need them both to match and help you maximize both.
yeah. I think it's worth saying that this is the ultimate first world problem or the first thing to cry about, but exiting a business is really hard. Really
Yeah.
hard. So we exited. First year was pretty similar to being an entrepreneur. The second year was awful. Contributed some of my worst habits, not through anyone's fault but my own. I behaved very badly, and eventually I was asked to leave. This is probably what I'd recommend for people who want to be entrepreneurial but aren't yet. Is don't get too hung up on a B or a B plus idea, because that's a great way of wasting years of your life. Brainstorm lots of ideas
Mhm.
and find the A ideas, and then do user research to check that these are A ideas, and don't be too wedded to any of them. High salary people are not the people you want in a startup because they're going to be
Startup
comfortable.
cultures.
AM is making tech a lot cheaper. It's making good tech people individually much more expensive because they can do the job of 5 people. It is making it so that tech as a competitive advantage no longer works to raise investment, because if you say your moat is tech, people will say people can build that in 3 months now, which is true
Yeah.
of all of our
What
technology.
is it?
So I would recommend, even those people whose relentlessness is driven by fear, consider switching it towards motivation and becoming more excited about what they're doing rather than needing to work incredibly hard.